She wakes up in a locked bedroom with no windows. The walls painted the exact shade of blue she's always associated with drowning. There's a camera in the corner, blinking red, and a speaker above the door that crackles to life every morning. With the same question, do you remember what you did to your son? Her name is Claire. She's a licensed therapist in Milwaukee, and up until last week, she didn't even know she had a son. Claire's hands trembled as she traced the seams of the locked door. It had no handle on her side, no visible mechanism, just a cold steel plate in the middle that clicked every few hours when food was pushed through in a silent tray. The room smelled like antiseptic and damp drywall. She didn't know how long she'd been here. 3 days? 5? Time bled together without clocks or sunlight dot. She pressed her ear to the wall again. Silence. No footsteps, no voices. Just the low hum of whatever machine powered the lights overhead, flickering fluorescence that never turned off. Her mouth was dry. Her lips cracked. But that wasn't the worst of it. The worst was the voice. Every morning at 7 a.m., the speaker above the door sputtered to life and asked the same question, delivered in a soft, clinical male voice. Do you remember what you did to your son, Claire? She screamed the first time. She clawed at the walls, begged for answers. I don't have a son. She cried until her throat burned raw, but the voice never answered. It only asked the same question the next day. Claire was 38. She had her own practice in Bayview, a quiet neighborhood south of Milwaukee. She specialized in grief and trauma counseling. She was good at it. Her calendar was always booked 2 months in advance. She lived alone in a condo near Lake Michigan, walked her dog every morning before work, and kept her fridge organized by expiration date. She had a mother in Kenosha and a younger brother in Chicago. No children. Never had dots, so why, when the voice asked her again this morning, do you remember what you did to your son? Did something twist in her gut? A flash, a glimpse, a boy's hand pulling away from hers in a supermarket aisle. She sat down on the thin mattress in the corner, wrapped the scratchy gray blanket around her shoulders. She was losing it, hallucinating, sleep deprivation. That was the only explanation. But then came the second voice, soft, muffled, from behind the vent in the upper corner of the wall. Mommy? Her blood turned to ice. She stood up slowly, stared at the vent. Who's there? Silence. She climbed onto the metal chair beneath the vent, pressed her ear close. Again, so quiet she thought she might be imagining it. Why did you leave me in the car? Claire staggered back, nearly fell. Her heart jackhammered in her chest. What was this? A sick game? Psychological torture? She stared at the vent for hours after that, but no more sounds came. Until that night, when the camera light blinked twice, and the speaker said something new. He's not dead, Claire. He's just waiting. Claire didn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the flash again. That little hand slipping out of hers, the screaming in some fluorescent-lit aisle, the sensation of her own legs frozen in place. Was it a dream? A memory? Something implanted? She paced the room until her feet blistered. The walls were closing in. The color, that blue, that horrible muted blue. It reminded her of the hospital from her internship years ago. The psych ward, the rooms where patients were held under suicide watch. Same color. A shade someone once told her was calm and therapeutic. It felt like drowning Dot. She was about to scream when the tray clicked open again. But this time, instead of oatmeal and water, there was something else on the tray. A manila folder. Her hands shook as she picked it up. No name, no label, just one thick stack of printed documents inside. The first page. A hospital record. Patient Claire Emerson admitted. July 19, 2017. Diagnosis: dissociative amnesia, DSM 5300.12. Notes. Patient found catatonic in parked vehicle during extreme heat. Male child, approx 4 years old, in back seat. Deceased daughter scream cracked the air like glass. No, 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 this isn't real. This isn't. She threw the folder across the room. Pages scattered like dead leaves. She collapsed onto the mattress, sobbing. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't remember. But the words wouldn't leave her head. Dissociative amnesia. A male child, deceased, she was a therapist. She knew what that diagnosis meant. Trauma so severe, it fragments memory. The mind's defense mechanism. A blackout around the unbearable. But it couldn't be true. It wasn't true, except that shade of blue, that little voice in the vent, the hand. She got up slowly, crawled to the papers, flipping through them now with a shaking urgency. There were court transcripts next. A custody case. Her name again. Claire Emerson, nurses. Wisconsin. Department of Child Welfare. She read until the words blurred. They'd taken her son away after her husband's death. She'd been spiraling. Depression. Neglect. The court said she was unstable. Unfit. But then, after therapy and review, she'd won supervised visitation. Until July 19th. The next page was a police report. The officer's words felt like a blade. The child was found unresponsive in the rear seat of a 2009 Toyota Camry. Outside temperature, 92 degrees Fahrenheit. Vehicle, left unattended for estimated 7 hours. Subject, Emerson, found in front seat, eyes open, nonverbal, unresponsive to stimuli. No signs of forced entry. Claire dropped the page. Her pulse thudded in her ears. Her skin felt too tight for her body. I didn't, she whispered, but her voice cracked on the word. The speaker above crackled again. Do you remember now? She stared up, eyes red, fists clenched. No. Then, for the first time, the voice replied, You will. And the door clicked open. Claire hesitated. The door hadn't opened more than a few inches, but the shift in air was immediate. The scent of bleach and old dust wafted in, sterile and suffocating. For a full minute she didn't move, crouched by the mattress with her eyes locked on that crack of black. She whispered to herself, over and over, This isn't real. This isn't real. Someone's trying to break me. But her bare feet moved anyway. The hallway outside was narrow and gray, lined with fluorescent lights that buzzed like hornets. It looked institutional. She stepped into it like a prisoner, escaping into another wing of the same cell. No signs, no windows. Just a long corridor with numbered doors. Some were slightly ajar. Some sealed tight. The speaker above her clicked. Again, she spun, heart racing. This way, Claire. The voice was different now. Calmer, less clinical. Almost familiar. Like a whisper half remembered from a dream. She walked. The lights flickered as she moved, casting long, jittery shadows. Her bare feet slapped against the cold linoleum. Door 104. Door 105. Each one made her stomach clench as she passed. One had scratch marks on the outside, deep, ragged lines like someone had been dragged out screaming. She reached door 112. It opened before she could knock inside. A small observation room. 2 chairs. A desk. A thick pane of mirrored glass, covering half the far wall. Claire's breath hitched. A therapist's office. Hers, not an exact replica, but enough. The color scheme, the desk layout, even the framed degrees on the wall, all under her name. This was her office. And yet, not. She stepped inside. The door shut behind her. Then the mirrored glass flickered and turned transparent. On the other side, a child's playroom, small table. art supplies, toys, and in the center, facing away from her, a little boy sitting on the carpet, drawing. Her knees buckled. He looked to be 4, maybe 5. Curly brown hair, a yellow t-shirt with a faded dinosaur on it. She whispered without realizing, "No, it can't be." The boy looked up and smiled. Her hands flew to her mouth. Something in her chest tore open, grief or recognition, or both. He ran to the glass and pressed his hands against it. "Mommy!" Claire staggered back. It wasn't just the word. It was his eyes. She knew those eyes. "Let me in," she choked. "Let me in, please." But the room stayed sealed. The boy kept smiling, drawing, waving, and the voice returned, softer now. "You're getting closer. But he's not ready to see you yet." Claire screamed at the glass until her throat bled. The lights above began to flicker again, faster this time, and through the intercom she heard something else, something that made her collapse. Her own voice, recorded, played back, warped by static. "Just 10 minutes. He'll be fine." I left the window cracked. The lights cut out. Darkness swallowed her. When the lights came back, Claire was sitting in the chair. Not just a chair, the therapist's chair. Her own. She didn't remember moving. Her head throbbed like she'd been hit. Her mouth was dry, heart hammering so loud she could barely hear the room. Across from her sat a man, mid-40s, hollow cheeks, blue blazer, the kind worn by family court mediators or social workers. He held a yellow notepad, but there was no pen in his hand. His face looked oddly familiar, like someone she might have passed in a courthouse hallway a long time ago. He watched her quietly, his expression unreadable. Claire swallowed. "What is this?" The man tilted his head. "I thought you'd appreciate some structure, familiar surroundings." He gestured around the office. "You designed this room, didn't you?" Her voice cracked. "Where is he? Where's my son?" The man didn't flinch. "He's safe. But that's not what this is about." Claire stood. "Like hell it isn't. You're not ready to face him." That stopped her cold. Her knees gave way, and she sank back into the chair. She felt the weight of every second in this place pressing down on her. Memories she didn't have clawing their way into the light. "I don't remember anything," she whispered. The man nodded. "You will, but memory isn't something you can force, Claire. Especially not when it's protecting you." She looked up sharply. "From what?" He finally picked up the notepad and flipped it open. Inside were drawings, childish sketches, in crayon, a sun, a red car, a tiny stick figure lying down inside it. Her breath caught. "He drew this yesterday," the man said. Claire reached for the page with trembling fingers. The figure in the car had its eyes closed. The windows were blue. The sun had angry, jagged rays. "He remembers," she whispered. "Yes," the man said. "Children remember everything, even the things they can't explain." Claire pressed her fists to her temples. "I didn't mean to. I would never." "We know." She looked at him. "Then why am I here? What is this place?" The man paused, considering her. "You're in the hospital, Claire. The real one. You've been here for a month. You stopped speaking the day they told you what happened." Her blood ran cold. "No. You screamed when you saw his photo. Then you forgot him again. Your mind fractured. The trauma splintered. You buried the memory so deep it built this world. We're inside that." She stared at him, shaking her head. "You're lying. You made this place, Claire. The room, the color, even the voice in the speaker. That's your old supervisor from residency. This is your brain's last attempt to protect you." He leaned forward. "But it's not working anymore. The truth is bleeding through." She stood up again, staggering. And then the lights in the mirrored window flickered, and her son was gone. The playroom was empty. A new voice came through the speaker, small and breaking. "Mommy, why didn't you come back?" Claire fell to her knees and screamed. Claire curled into herself on the cold floor, her breath coming in short, jagged bursts. The mirrored window remained empty. No sign of the boy, no sign of the room beyond. Just her reflection now, pale and crumpled, shaking like a leaf. The man was gone. No door had opened, no footsteps. Just vanished. She was alone again. But something had shifted. The room felt off. A breeze where there shouldn't be one. A soft sound behind her, the gentle creak of wood. She turned. There was a door on. The back wall. It hadn't been there before. She stared at it for a long moment. It was the only thing in the room not sterile, not institutional. It looked old, faded oak, the varnish cracked, the brass knob tarnished with age. She approached like it might vanish. If she got too close, she turned the handle. The hinges groaned open. On the other side was a living room. Hers. Her actual living room, or some perfect facsimile of it. The blue-gray couch. The rug with the coffee stain she'd never quite gotten out. The smell, faint lavender and dust. Photos on the mantel, smiling faces. Her face, and a man's, Ben. Her husband. Dead 5 years now. She staggered in, touching the back of the couch like it might burn her. And she heard it, a child's laugh, from the hallway. "Danny?" She called out, her voice breaking around the name. She didn't remember deciding to say it. It had just risen, unbidden, from somewhere deeper than thought. No answer. She followed the sound. Down the hallway that shouldn't have existed, past photos that weren't right. There was one, Claire holding a baby. But her face was too young. Her expression wrong. Like someone had painted joy onto grief. Another photo showed Ben, holding a toddler in a sunlit yard. But the background was blurred, like it had been cut from another image. She reached the bedroom door. It was ajar. She pushed. It opened. A child's room. Sunlight pouring in through sheer curtains. Dinosaur bedsheets. Tiny shoes by the dresser. The air smelled like something warm and soft. Shampoo and apple juice. Then she saw him, sitting on the floor, back to her, playing with wooden blocks. She didn't speak. She couldn't. She took one step forward, then another. He looked over his shoulder. Her breath caught. His face. So clear, so familiar. "Hi, Mommy," he said. Her knees went weak. She dropped beside him, reaching out, not daring to touch. Her hands hovered in the space between. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to leave you. I don't remember what happened." "Please," Danny smiled. "That's okay." Her tears fell like rain. "But you can't stay here," he added softly. Claire froze. "What?" He stood, walked to the wall, and pushed it. It rippled. Beyond it, white, blinding. "You have to wake up now," he said, "before they give up on you." The house trembled, the sound of sirens in the distance. Then her son was gone again, and Claire was standing at the edge of the light, with one choice left to make. The light swallowed everything. Claire stepped through the wall and felt the world collapse in reverse, like someone was rewinding her life in fast motion. The hallway blurred. The couch, the bedroom, the smell of shampoo, gone. All that remained was pressure. Thick, endless pressure crushing her chest, her limbs, her skull. And then air. She gasped. The first real breath in weeks, or months, or years, she didn't know. The room she opened her eyes to was painfully white. Bleached tile, machines beeping, the stale scent of disinfectant and hand sanitizer. A hospital room. She was back, 4 in her arm. ECG stickers on her chest. Oxygen. Prongs in her nose. Her skin prickled with sweat and goosebumps. and every inch of her felt wrong, like she'd been poured into a body that wasn't quite hers. Voices came next, muffled at first. "She's awake." Hit Dr. Morse. A woman entered. Nurse. Early 30s, cautious eyes behind her glasses. She stepped closer, like Claire might shatter. "Claire?" she said gently. Claire blinked. Her voice cracked. "Where am I?" "You're at St. Luke's. You've been in a catatonic state for 31 days. Claire tried to sit up. Pain flared in her neck and shoulders. She winced. The nurse steadied her. "Easy. You've been through a lot." Claire looked around wildly. "Where's my son?" "Danny, he was here." "I saw him." The nurse's face shifted, grief in her eyes. A familiar kind. "I'm so sorry, Claire." Claire shook her head. "No, he was just here. He told me to wake up. Sometimes when people come back," the nurse said gently, "the dreams feel real." Claire's heart pounded. It wasn't a dream. A pause. The nurse looked away. Then came a knock. A doctor entered. Late 50s, trimmed beard, slate gray suit under his white coat. Clipboard in hand. Dr. Morse. Claire recognized the name. He was in the transcripts. He'd testified during the trial. She froze. He approached the bed and gave a small nod. "Claire, I'm glad you're back with us." "What happened to me?" Her voice was dry, raw. "You experienced a dissociative fugue," he said. "Your brain suppressed memories related to trauma. You built a dissociative identity state, created a mental structure to protect yourself from the unbearable truth." Claire's eyes burned. "And the truth is, I killed my son." Dr. Morse said nothing. That was the answer. Claire broke. She cried harder than she ever had. No resistance left. No denial. Just grief. Wild animal grief that clawed its way out of her throat. The nurse held her, gently, whispering something meaningless. When Claire finally looked up, the sun had moved across the sky outside the window. Dr. Morse sat down beside her. "We need to talk about your next steps," he said. "Your treatment. The possibility of testifying. The media interest." Claire turned her head slowly. "Testifying?" He nodded. "The charges were dropped after your initial catatonia. But the DA's reopening the case. There's pressure. Public scrutiny. They want someone to blame." Claire stared at the wall. Her son's voice echoed in her mind. "You can't stay here." But out here was no better. Out here was the world where it happened. Where she left him. This monitor beeped softly beside her. Then she looked at Dr. Morse. "What if I don't want to stay?" He didn't answer right away, but the question lingered in the air like smoke. Claire sat on the hospital bed, knees drawn to her chest beneath the thin white blanket. She hadn't spoken in 2 days. Nurses came and went. Dr. Morse visited once. A day with clipped, careful words. Reporters gathered outside the hospital. Her mother called, left voicemails, mostly crying. But none of it pierced the cocoon. She saw Danny everywhere. In the reflection of the window, in the shape of the shadows on the floor. Sometimes, in the moment between waking and sleep, she could hear him. Just the softest whisper. "I'm not mad, Mommy." But he should have been. Everyone was. She wasn't suicidal, not in the traditional sense. But she was no longer interested in survival either. Whatever version of herself had lived before Danny died, that woman was gone. Buried in the heat of a July afternoon with a forgotten car seat and a locked door. And yet, that night, a nurse brought in something unexpected. "Your therapist recommended this," she said, setting the item on the bed. Sometimes writing helps when speaking feels impossible. It was a sketch pad, blank, spiral-bound. Alongside it, a small box of crayons. Claire stared at it for a long time after the nurse left. Eventually, she picked up a blue crayon. CERULEAN. exact color of the room. She began to draw Dot not with purpose, not at first. Just lines, shapes, circles that turned into wheels, a rectangle that became a car, a window, a hand on the glass. Her hand Dot, and then him Dot Danny Dot stick-figured, smiling. Inside the car Dot, her hand shaking, Claire drew herself outside the car. Face turned. Phone in hand Dot, another call. Another minute, 1 minute too long. She dropped the crayon. Then she reached for the red dot flames, not literal ones, but symbolic. Anger, shame, grief. She filled the page with color, until it looked like her lungs felt on fire. The next morning, she asked to see Dr. Morse. He came in looking surprised, cautious. He sat, crossed one leg over the other, clipboard on his knee. I remembered, she said. He nodded. Dot. She slid the drawing toward him. Her hand didn't tremble this time. I don't want a defense. I don't want to argue brain damage, trauma, mental illness. I left my son in the car. That's the truth. Dr. Morse was quiet. Then, there may still be mitigating circumstances. I don't care. Silence. Let them put me on trial, she said. Let them see everything. Every mistake. Every minute I thought he'd be fine. Every excuse I made to myself. She looked him dead in the eye. I'm not running from this anymore. He studied her for a long time. Then he said something that struck her in the gut. That's the first real thing you've said since you woke up. Claire exhaled. Dot later that day. They moved her to a different room. The walls were pale green, not blue, for the first time in over a month. She slept without hearing his voice. Not because she forgot him, but because, finally, she remembered everything, and she was ready to face it.